Disciplining a child is extremely, extremely difficult. I've learned that as a parent. Even if you're not a parent, maybe you remember hearing from your parents when they were disciplining you, "This hurts me far worse than it's hurting you." When I heard that, I was like, no, spanking hurts. Like, this is really tough. But as a parent, now I understand that difficult balance of how do you discipline with patience when your kids are just ruthless and rude and you didn't raise them to be like that. Let me tell you, as a parent, I have failed. I have failed a lot in my life. And my wife called me out on it. I grew up in a household where there was spanking, balanced spanking, but spanking that was there. And so one of my daughters was hitting just with fists her sister. And so I pulled her over and just disciplined her. I gave her one swat on the butt. And my wife came over to me later and said, "That seems like that's a mixed message." I'm like, you're right. I don't know if that really makes a lot of sense. And maybe you're like me. Maybe it's happened where you've yelled at your kids for yelling at their siblings. Maybe you've also screamed, "If I don't scream, you can't hear me." And we lose our temper. It is so difficult, so incredibly difficult to have that patience, to have that balance when it comes to disciplining. And so there is a passage that has really helped me have a better balance in my life when it comes to my parenting, whether that is me taking care of my kids, or there's a nephew or niece there, or I'm at a sports camp helping out. This passage is great. From Proverbs, it says, "A hot-tempered person stirs up conflict, but the one who is patient calms a quarrel." So how do you do that? How do you have patience when it comes to disciplining a child? And the easiest way I have found is to try to get eye level. So let me do that here. I'm going to push away the stool that I've been using so my legs aren't falling asleep while we're here recording. And I have found that when I'm with my daughters, and I've got little ones, and if I get eye level to them, it's really hard for me to stir up in anger when I'm talking eye level. And when I have stirred up in anger, I've also learned to apologize, to get eye level to my daughter and to say, "Daddy messed up. Daddy lost his temper. Will you please forgive me?" And to model for them what that exactly looks like. And to have discipline, there's got to be consequences, but when you're eye level, there's a patience that comes in. Maybe you've got older kids, and so for you with them, you could sit down on the couch. Rather than standing over your child and yelling and screaming, which happens so easily. But when you're eye level, there's this patience that can come out of you, a balance when it comes to discipline. And God has this amazing thing to say when it comes to discipline here in the book of Hebrews. He says, "No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who've been trained by it." How can you bring a harvest of righteousness to your child, to your nephew, to your niece, to someone you're helping at a sports camp when you're losing your temper? So get eye level with them. Bring righteousness to them, and they'll be trained by it. When you live that way, when you live differently in your discipline, it'll make all the difference to bring patience to them, and patience will come out of them.
Hey, it's Amber L.B. Swenson. You might remember when my podcast Little Things was right here on Grace Talks, or maybe you've never heard of me. Either way, I want to invite you to listen to Little Things, which is now its own podcast. We take a look at little things and little ways that we can change our thinking to know and love God more. So please check out Little Things wherever you listen to your podcasts.